launch some kind of kamikaze attack on your ego. It is not mindfulness for corporate advancement or a form of stress reduction. It's not supposed to make you feel particularly better until you break through in an instantaneous flash of enlightenment. Satori. At any rate, that's the hype. Summoned by the rhythmic sound of heavy wooden clappers, slow and ominous at first to grab your attention, then steadily increasing in tempo to cause panic, the Zen students filed into the makeshift zendo, a carpeted reception room of the Abbey repurposed for this informal session. I was among the half-dozen first-time students stumbling at the doorway to make sure we correctly executed our newly learned bows before finding our places, bowing again, and getting into zazen posture as the sesshin commenced. It was April 1977. I didn't realize that the spot I had claimed next to the window was directly opposite the Jikijitsu, the Zendo leader, until I noticed the low table placed beside the empty cushion with a bell, an incense holder, and a lighter. I heard footsteps descending the stairway behind me. Keeping my head down as instructed, I stared at his bare feet. His lower body dropped into the frame of my vision. I could see his hands make sharp, sweeping movements as he snapped the hem of his robe over his knees and tucked it under his feet, turning himself into an impressive black pyramid. I lifted my gaze surreptitiously to glimpse his face. It was Leonard Cohen. Really? His was a famous face, prominently displayed on the cover of his first record album that everyone owned in 1968, his thick helmet of black hair hanging practically to his dark brows over eyes with sparkles of light staring at you, the Semitic nose protruding over curious curved lips in a pose reminiscent of a 19th-century French poet. I'd heard nothing new from him since his second album in 1969, the one with the white cover and Bird on the Wire on it. I had no idea what he had been doing since, but his face was older, tighter, leaner, and more purposeful. The Zendo leader is supposed to act as if he's not even breaking a sweat during the day's arduous schedule to make everyone else feel even worse. Leonard sported a look of placid, resigned indifference, even when his feet fell asleep and he struggled to rise to lead the group out of the zendo for the regimented walks. His robes looked as if they had been pressed each morning, and his white collar remained crisp and spotless for the entire week. By the fifth day, the effluvium of tortured minds and bodies suffocated the zendo. After lunch, there was a break for showers, a short nap, or wandering around outside contemplating your predicament. I'd found a little path that led to an isolated area behind the main building where I could be alone. I rounded the corner to my spot. Leonard was up ahead, smoking a cigarette in a stately posture, one hand supporting the elbow of the hand that held his cigarette. I was about to go back and leave him alone, but he turned toward me and shrugged. It's okay. No need to split. I sat down on the fieldstone wall and gazed out at the rolling farmland, glancing occasionally at him. He continued to smoke and seemed to be deeply considering some matter with furrowed brow. I knew nothing then of his life, and since I was 27 at the time, even less about the life of a 42-year-old man. He finished his cigarette and stubbed it out on the ground before neatly depositing the butt in the big cuff of his robe. I could hear his huge sigh from where I was sitting. I got up to return to the zendo. He turned, and we stared at each other. His serious face pantomimed bewilderment. I smiled at his silent question. What in the world are a couple of smart Jewish boys like us doing here? 35 years later, while I was working on a novel fashioned as a biography of a fictional New Age teacher, I reread the books that originally sent me careening down the spiritual path, dropping out of Harvard in 1969 to make an overland pilgrimage to India. The book that resonated most strongly now was The Varieties of Religious Experience, written in 1902 by the founder of modern psychology, William James. I asked Leonard if he had ever read it. Of course, but I can't recall a word. Does it shed any light on our predicament?